guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in Germany. And in this video today, I am going to be sharing with you 10 very German things that I do now that I live in Germany. So I'm going to get straight into it because I do have a lot to say in this video. So in no particular order, one of the things that I do now I live in Germany is I am much more direct when it comes to writing emails. So when I lived in New Zealand, I used to beat around the bush whenever I would send somebody an email, and this is a very typical Kiwi thing to do. Germans are much more direct than Kiwis, and writing emails are no exception. So I'm going to give you an example. Just say I was at university in New Zealand and I had missed a class because I was sick that day. I wanted to catch up on what had been going on in that class, so I emailed one of my class friends, an acquaintance. So before I would actually get to the point of the email, I would beat around the bush. I would say, I hope you've had a great day. It was so nice catching up with you at the party the other night. I hope your mum's feeling better, and blah, 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 blah. And then I would get to the actual point of the email. And that was just a normal thing that I would do in New Zealand. I would send such long emails, and it would take me so long to get to the point of the actual message. As I've mentioned, Germans are very direct, straight to the point, and lately I have noticed that I have been a lot more direct when writing emails. And I still am very polite, I still have my New Zealand politeness, but I just get to the point a lot quicker. So instead I would say something like, hey, I'm just wondering if you could send me some of the notes from our class today. I was sick and I would really like to catch up on the lesson. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. I've just found that the German way, if you're polite about it, it is much more efficient. You get to the point a lot quicker. It's easier for the person reading it. It's easier for you writing it. There's a time and a place for long-winded emails, but not every single email. So another very German thing that I do now that I live in Germany is that I sleep with my own separate duvet, and my husband sleeps with his own separate duvet. This probably sounds kind of weird to a New Zealander or, just to a non-European, because in New Zealand, if you're married or in a relationship, you sleep under one duvet. You don't have your own separate duvets. When I first came to Germany, I thought this was the funniest concept, that you would sleep with your own blanket, and Rob said that that's the best way to sleep, and I didn't believe him at the beginning, and I gave it a try, and I'm never going back. Honestly, I love my husband. It's not that I don't love my husband and I don't want to be close to him, but he is what we call in New Zealand a blanket hog. So he will pull the whole blanket across in his sleep, and I'll be left cold without a blanket, and he will have the whole entire blanket. So it is so convenient for us to have our own separate blankets to snuggle up in. And also in Germany, you don't have a top sheet on your bed. That's a very Kiwi, sort of English, maybe American thing to do. But in Germany, you just sleep with a duvet. You have a cotton duvet cover, and you don't worry about the top sheet. And I also have adopted this, and I love it. I love the German way of sleeping. I'm never going to go back, and I think everybody should give it a try, using one separate blanket and no top sheet. It's awesome. Another very German thing that I do now is I drink a lot of Apfelschorle. And for those of you who don't know what Apfelschorle is, it is the ultimate drink. It is a mix of sparkling water with apple juice, 100% apple juice, and it is just such a wonderful mix. It's a little bit sour, a little bit sweet, a little bit bitter, and it's very refreshing, very hydrating. It is just, in my opinion, the perfect drink. I'd never heard of Apfelschorle before moving to Germany. When I first tried it, I didn't love it. I found it a little bit too bitter, but it really, really grew on me. So yes, I have become very German in the way that I love my Apfelschorle. Okay, so another very German thing that I do now is I am a lot more careful about what I buy. I am not as quick to spend money, and I would choose quality over quantity. Now, when I was living in New Zealand, I used to just buy for the sake of buying. Ridiculous, I know, because I was not rich. I just used to spend money all the time on stupid things. On stupid things like just clothes and just stupid makeup products and gadgets and whatever I would buy for the sake of buying. Many Germans, I'm not saying all of them are like this, but many Germans have a very sensible mentality when it comes to spending money. I used to think that my husband was a little bit of a tight ass when it came to buying like big purchases. And when I say a tight ass, not with everything, like if we're at a restaurant, he will give the waitress like a decent tip. He appreciates good service. Like if somebody is playing guitar on the street and they're really good, he will be the sort of guy that will hand them like a 10 euro note or something like that. But when it comes to big purchases like computers, TVs, like furniture items, he is very careful about what he buys, and he refuses to put anything on credit. He would rather wait a little while and pay with cash than put something on credit. I am so happy that I have a husband like this, because if he had listened to me back then and put all of this fancy stuff on credit, then we would be in debt. I think a lot of Germans have this mentality when it comes to money. They will save, they won't put things on credit, they will choose quality over quantity, and maybe that's why Germany has such a booming economy. Maybe that's part of the reason. Right now, if I want something, I will not buy it straight away. I will think about whether I really need it. I will wait a little while, and I will not just buy for the sake of buying. Another very German thing that I do is I usually carry around a little packet of tissues for my kids if they have a runny nose, or if I have a runny nose, or if anyone else needs the tissues. It is so common for Germans, mostly German women I would say, to have tissues with them. They will either have them in their pocket or in their handbag, and if ever you have like a runny nose or you need a tissue, you can ask the closest German and they will most likely have a tissue for you. Another very German thing that I do now is I will eat my sandwiches without the bread on the top. And I think you call them like an open-faced sandwich or something like that. So in Germany, it's pretty common to have a piece of bread with some butter and cheese and salami and tomato or whatever you want to have, you know, on your sandwich, and you don't put the bread on the top. I have gotten into the habit of doing this. I much prefer an open-faced sandwich because I just find it a lot lighter. It's not as heavy with, you know, the two pieces of bread, and I don't know why, I just prefer it, and I have, you know, picked up on that habit of having open-faced sandwiches. So another very German thing that I do now is I always bring along my own bags with me when I'm going to the supermarket, you know, like a bag like this. And also I will always have in my handbag a little fabric bag, and you can buy them. They're like a regular size bag, but they scrunch up really small and you can fit them into another tiny bag and they just slip nicely into your handbag. And it is just so much better for the environment to bring along your own bags. And in Germany, if you go to the supermarkets now, it's very rare that you will find plastic bags. I think a lot of supermarkets have actually phased them out and you can only buy paper bags. And I think this is amazing. But I always bring along my own bags with me, and I use these bags over and over and over again, and this is just a very German thing to do. You see a lot of Germans doing this, and I think it's awesome. Another German thing that I do since living in Germany is I let people finish their sentences more than I did when I lived in New Zealand. So let me explain this. I think that a lot of New Zealanders and a lot of people from countries like the United States or say England, Australia, English-speaking countries, they love to talk over top of people. And I've noticed that Germans do not do this so much. So when people were telling me something, I would feel the constant need to have to butt in all the time. So they'd be telling me a story and, you know, I'd be saying, oh, really? Oh, yes. Yeah, I know, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd start to talk about yourself and then you wouldn't let them finish. Honestly, I wasn't that bad, but I think a lot of New Zealanders do this. And I've noticed a lot of Germans, they will actually let you speak and they will let you explain something without having this like need to constantly butt in. At first, I found that silence when I was talking a little bit awkward because I would be expecting the person I was speaking to, the German person, to be adding their point of view to the conversation while I was speaking. And then I realized it's actually a really positive thing when somebody lets you talk and then gives you their opinion after you've spoken. And I've come to the conclusion that I think the reason why Germans don't interrupt as much when they're speaking is because quite often the verb in the German language will be at the very end of the sentence, and in the English language the verb will be towards the beginning. So in the German language you have to really listen to what the the person is saying, and you have to really concentrate to fully understand the conversation. But with the English language, a lot of the time someone will just have to say a few words and you have already predicted what the sentence is going to be. So since living in Germany, I have realized that I listen a lot more to people when they are speaking to me, whether it be a conversation in German or in English. I wait to the end of the sentence to add my 2 cents in rather than like constantly interrupting the person throughout the sentence. There's nothing more annoying than when somebody is like interrupting you when you are speaking, and I think a lot of us native English speakers do this. I'm not saying all of us do, but a lot of us do. And another very German thing that I do since living in Germany is I will use 24-hour time all the time. And honestly, it took me a long time to get into this habit. This did not come naturally because we do not use 24-hour time in New Zealand. But now I will catch myself talking to one of my native English speaking friends and saying, let's meet up at 14 o'clock. And I do it. It's second nature to me now because, you know, this is how you tell the time in Germany. And I don't know why, and my English speaking friends do the same, and it's just a habit that I've picked up, and it is something that is just very, very German, very European, and it's just really ingrained in me right now. Okay, so last but not least, another very German thing that I do now is I say, for example, so much, like more than I probably should. And I think the reason that I do this, yes, this is the reason why I do this, Germans use the word for example so much when they're speaking English. In the German language, a very commonly used phrase is zum Beispiel, which translates to for example, except in the German language, it's thrown around a lot more casually than for example in the English language. I've noticed when my little 6-year-old Amelia is talking with her German friends, it's quite common for them to say zum Beispiel when they are talking about something, and it's just thrown in very casually. And you would never hear a little English speaking child say, for example. Well, I don't think you would hear that because it's used more formally. And I do use, for example, in my videos, but you know, these are sit down videos, I'm explaining something, so that's okay. But I have found myself just in really like casual conversations, just using the word for example, and it's just such a German thing to do. And a lot of Germans, just in a casual conversation, they will say for example, and it sounds a little bit, I don't know, too formal for the situation. And I've found myself copying and using for example in situations where it probably doesn't really fit. So that is definitely, it's more of like a German habit that I've picked up. But yeah, I need to really think about that more. I always catch myself out when I'm doing it, and I always think I shouldn't say that, and I always end up saying it again. Anyway guys, that's all I've got for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to subscribe to my channel. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!